All right, got another camera build video for you, and this one we are taking a look at this PYXIS 6K build. So what you're seeing here is kind of the core kit, if you will, for most productions. Like, this is how I set it up for most jobs, like interviews and corporate gigs and stuff. But this is obviously scalable to add, remove, replace, or relocate things on here depending on what I'm doing. Maybe it's an easy rig or shoulder rig or whatever, and we'll get into some of those configurations here in this video. But first up, I just want to show you the kind of the core of it and kind of how it's built out, and then kind of show you some other configurations. So let's go ahead and start from the back and kind of move our way forward. So right here, I am powering this whole thing off of a V-mount battery. This in one particular these are my favorite batteries. These are from Core SWX. This is their Nano X battery. This is the 98 watt hour and also have 150 watt hour, which both are great batteries. The reason why I like this so much is because it shows you your battery percentage, and if you click this button up at the very top, again, you can get an estimated run time with the current load that's on the camera. It's attached to this Tilta PD Mini V-mount plate. It's got two 2-pin LEMO outs, 2 D-tap outs, and then a USB-C out as well. I have currently overloaded the use of the D-taps. I need to actually put a custom cable order in with Mutiny because I prefer to just make use of these 2-pin LEMO outs. So I'll probably get a 2-pin right angle to 2-pin LEMO right angle for the sake of powering the camera. But as of right now, I've got this D-tap cable here, and that is kind of coiled around this rail right here, and that is going to this right angle power adapter here. And the reason why I like the right angle power adapter is it just allows me to move this battery plate as close to the camera as possible to keep things nice and tidy and neat. And yeah, I just prefer it that way. So that's that D-tap cable, and then there's a D-tap cable that is running to this follow focus up here. This is the Nano 2 follow focus. And then another D-tap cable that is running just off the battery to this EVF. So we'll talk about all that here in a second, but that's kind of what we're doing here. The only thing I'd probably change from a power standpoint is I may get like one of those the smallest size BPU batteries to put in this battery tray right here on the actual camera, just to give, as another fail-safe, if this battery were to die, for example, I would still have some juice on the camera, at least theoretically. But yeah, got this plate all the way up, so got this right angle power adapter here, and I'm also using right angle BNC and SDI cables here for that reason, so that I can move this up as close as possible. So typically what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the things in and then slide the battery plate up all the way, and it kind of keeps everything nice and tidy. This SDI cable or BNC connection right here is for the time code. So I'm using the Deity TC1. I love these time code boxes. It integrates really well with their Theo system as well as their PR2 and their slate and everything. And I'm just a huge fan of time code. It's not needed for every job, but for me, it's just a habit of use time code all the time. So when you actually do need it, it's not something else that you have to think of. It's just part of your normal workflow. At least it is for me. So that's kind of this part right here. Now this whole battery plate is sitting on these rails right here. These rails are by Bright Tangerine. These are called drumsticks, and the rails are connected to the left field system, and that's kind of what's allowing me to attach all of these things to the rig. So the left field system, this is actually from my Komodo X build. So the camera actually sits a little bit higher than it should because this is the Komodo X riser, but something I'm willing to deal with because I really like the left field system because it integrates really well with my shoulder rig, which I will show you here in a second. So that's kind of it for the back and the bottom here. So let's move to the top of the camera. So on the top of the camera, I have this 8-sin plate. It's a really great plate. I like it. It's got a cool design, and it's got this like kind of stripe pattern. Kind of gives like a red vibe, which is kind of funny. But it's really cool. It's got a NATO rail here on the front if you wanted to use that for a top handle, for example, or a monitor mount or something. But I had not decided to do that, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. But it's got mounting points all over the place, both on the top and both sides, which is really great. Speaking of the mounting points that I'm using on the sides and the top, first of all, on the side, I am using this EVF. This is the Kinefinity SDI Eagle viewfinder. I think that's what it's called. So that is connected to this SDI out on the camera. And the reason why I'm able to use the SDI out for the EVF is because I'm using the PYXIS monitor, which uses the USB-C viewfinder terminal here on the front. Now, to mount the monitor, what I'm doing is I'm actually using a small rig quarter 20 to NATO rail monitor mount, and I'm actually flipped it upside down. So I'm actually using the quarter 20 on the NATO rail here as opposed to using the NATO mount. And the reason being is because I put a NATO rail on the bottom of the monitor, and this just makes it really easy to tear the camera down quicker, or if I need to relocate the monitor somewhere else, like for on the Easy Rig, for example, and putting it over here. It's a lot quicker to do that than unscrewing it. So just a little like workflow time-saving thing, and if you can save time on set, that's better. So that's kind of what I did there. That's why I did it. This is a great little mount. It's got a little tension screw here, and once you set it, tighten it down, and you can also swivel it, which is nice. But yeah, it's that's what I've got there. I'm not going to go into really any more detail about that. So staying with the top of the camera, this on the plate right here, I've got a small little NATO rail, and this just allows me to mount a top handle. This one here is a bright tangerine top handle. Now here on the side, there's a lot going on here on the side, and I wanted to talk about this right here. So the core of the side right here is this mid 49 side plate, and really honestly the only reason why I got the side plate was because of this right here. This is the XLR breakout adapter, or whatever they call it. I'll leave a link to it in the description. But basically what this does is it gives you two full-size XLR inputs that utilizes the front XLR input here and then the 3.5mm microphone input. So the side plate has a bunch of mounting options, and then an RE rosette down on the bottom corner here. And what I've done is I've gotten this Condor blue swivel thing, and it just allows you to easily change the positioning of the handle right here. Speaking of the handle, I am using this Tilta Nucleus side handle, the Nucleus Nano 2 side handle, and this allows you to control the focus motor from a little dial here. It's a little bit different than using the wheel, but number one, the battery life lasts forever on this. It uses an NPF battery, and I use the Ronin the RS3 Pro quite a bit, and use the manual focus wheel in there. So just kind of configured it to where I kind of have a similar experience pulling focus, as a solo op for on the gimbal as well as on here. And this acts as a side handle. So if I'm on an Easy Rig, for example, or even handheld, I've already got a point of contact here, and they also have my focus at the same point of contact, so I can dedicate another hand to the top handle or whatever else. So that, I think that covers this side. No, I take that back. I have a cold shoe on the side, and that just allows me to mount like a shotgun microphone. That's kind of why I have the shotgun microphone here, just to kind of show you. But if I decided to use something else like the Deity Theos system, or need to mount something else like a wireless transmitter or whatever, it just gives me another mounting point to mount whatever else I want to it. So yeah, so that's kind of that situation here. Now moving up forward, I've got this EF lens mount adapter. I use two different lens mount adapters. The first one is this right here. This is DZO. It's their Octopus adapter. It doesn't have any electronic contacts on it. It's just kind of a dummy adapter. But what I really like about it is, number one, it's a locking adapter. And number two, it has a 1/4-20 mount just like on the bottom, just like on this adapter here, which is the Sigma MC21. It's the other adapter I use if I'm using like the 24 to 70 Sigma or any of my other EF lenses. Obviously, this like communicates with use aperture and IS and all that stuff. But this is really great because it locks in the EF mount to the actual lens, so there's zero play there. And then on the bottom, I've just got this small rig LWS adapter thing. I got it a long time ago. I don't even know if they still sell it. But that just screws in to here and it's mounted to the rails. So it just creates a super solid connection. And for any kind of EF mount lens that you have manual control over the iris especially, and focus and whatnot, that like this basically just makes it a super solid connection. So I'd mentioned this is the Nano 2 follow focus motor here. That's that. And then on the front, I've got this small rig matte box that is missing the flag because it got damaged on a shoot. So great matte box. The reason why I like it is it's a 2-stage matte box, or actually a multi-stage matte box. You can get multiple of these trays and they just slide on in front of each other. And so if you need to stack ND filters, or I don't typically like using diffusion filters, or don't really feel the need to use diffusion filters with the Leicas, but if using a different lens or like a 18 to 35 for example, then you can throw like a diffusion filter or something. So really like this matte box. Super affordable. I don't even think this one they make it anymore, but they make something super similar. And as for the NDs right here, these are from a company called Element Filters. And these are their full stop NDs. The reason why I like these is, number one, they're super clean. There's no color shift, and they're also IR NDs as well. The OLPF and the filter in the PYXIS is really good. So using something like a variable ND, like from Nisi or Polar Pro or whatever, can be utilized, but it's just not, you know, if you want to get the best color possible, definitely want to use these NDs. All right, that was super long, but now let's talk about a couple of different configurations that I'd utilize with this camera. So let's kind of start big and move small. So first things first is, this is the configuration, like I said, like for using with like a tripod or you know, going handheld or something where, you know, this is not a very heavy rig right here, so I'm not worried about you know, blowing out my back for a shot. But there are times when the camera gets heavier, or if I just want to go on a shoulder for something. So with that, I would use the Bright Tangerine Casbah system. Now, full disclosure, they did send this out to me to talk about, test, and yeah, make some content on. This is an awesome shoulder rig system. So they sent me this. You'll notice that I don't have a handle on here, and I'll explain why here in a second. But what this does is it allows you to mount directly to the rails. And then what I like to do is I actually like to relocate the handle, since it's using RE rosette, to here, so that I can just continue to manipulate focus right there with my hand and not have to take my hand off of the shoulder rig or the handles. So that's why I move it here. And then the other part of it is this right here. So this is the same style dovetail that is on the left field system right here. The reason why I really like this system is it's really easy to move over from tripod to shoulder rig. So you just take that off, you mount it, and then I've got a nice handheld setup. And again, I can manipulate focus right here with this focus wheel right here. And then I've got my EVF pretty much perfectly situated. Now, there are a couple of ways of configuring this shoulder rig. You can actually have it permanently attached, not permanently attached, but semi-permanently attached to this right here. There's like an actual piece that you can screw into the back of the left field plate and it marries up to this, and then you can just slide it on and tighten it down that way. But I prefer to not do it that way because it kind of makes the rig much longer than I'd like, and then you actually would have to relocate this this whole system to they do have 15mm rod that you can mount to this, but it just kind of extends the system more than I care. That is an option, but for me, it's easy enough for me to just quickly detach from the area plate, the dovetail plate here, and then just mount it there for shoulder rig stuff. So that's the shoulder rig setup. If I were to move over to an easy rig, and I know like for some shoots where I'm just dedicated to an easy rig, then what I would do is move this back here. I'd have the handle right here, and then I would move this monitor, which this is why I put the monitor on the NATO rail, so you can easily remove that. And then I would use something like this to relocate the monitor here. For easy rig, I'd probably just remove the EVF, either this whole thing completely, which is just one screw, or could just even just remove this right here to give me a little bit more room. But as you can see, just moving the monitor here to the side just gives me the ability to have a little bit better monitoring experience when you're on an easy rig, just because when you're on an easy rig, sometimes that monitor, it just kind of gets in the way and you kind of have to be right behind the camera. Whereas for this, you can move the monitor over to the side, configure it however you want, and then you still have your focus over here, which is really nice. And then that allows me to actually move this top handle, leaving the monitor mount here. I could slide that top handle pretty much as far forward as I want to have the right center of gravity for the easy rig, so it's nice and balanced. As you can see, like it's pretty well balanced, and yeah. So, and then probably my favorite way to configure this, because it is the most stripped down and the lightest, and that is like the run and gun rig, or the walkabout town rig. So be right back. All right, and now here it is with totally different lighting because it got super bright, and I guess now it's getting darker, whatever. This is it, super stripped down, and this is it. The only thing I would add to this maybe is a variable ND filter and like a shotgun microphone, or just run lav audio depending on what the audio needs are for the shoot, or for whatever, why I'd be running it like this. So yeah, super clean, super a lot more minimal, and I really like it. So if you liked this build, let me know down in the comments below. But build videos are not over for this camera, because in the next build video, I'm going to show you this thing. This is made by XLCS Designs. This is a full camera cage for the PYXIS 6K. It is super lightweight. It's got mounting places all over the place, mounting points all over the place, and yeah, it's really cool. And they got a ton of really great accessories, like this cable right here. This is made by XLCS Designs. So yeah, be on the lookout for this video. In the meantime, subscribe and enjoy the look of this. Peace.